Everybody kuyangena nje hlephu indoda ihambe uyibone seyiqhuba imoto ebonakalayo estratweni. Security companies, I don't want to talk much about them. They say they've been guarding this place. They are very important. But here are the shacks. When the first shack was erected on top of the railway line, where was the security of PRASA? Where was it? We have actually had now a number of shacks and bringing the service to a total standstill. But we have had security. Places like this get vandalized, but PRASA was paying not millions, billions to security companies. And now when they are convenient, they say Mbalula stopped. And I'm very disappointed because even the media repeat this. And I was with the media all the time when decisions were taken at PRASA. Kweyama board took a decision informed by the public protector to stop the security contracts. You all know, it's documented. And then when they took a decision, they did not then decide when we implement what is right. How do we put a contingency plan to prevent the inevitable? When Pondo came in the footsteps of that decision, there was a lockdown and there was a pandemic, mid-March. Remember, the NCCC, guided by the Department of Transport, because as training, we decided to stop the service of trains in the Republic. Stop. Because if trains were to move worse than the taxis, you know what is going to happen. I've been in a train early in the morning. I know what's happening in the trains. Trains would have been a fastest spreader of the coronavirus. The fact that our numbers are down is because of the actions that we have taken. That include the stoppage of the trains. Now these trains have been moving with all the challenges for donkey years. They never stopped. They only stopped during level 5. They only stopped during level 5. When they stopped, we didn't have security to guard the train stations. The decisions have been effected. The courts here, led by Judge Hlophe, took a further decision that we must reinstate the security companies. We went back and forth. But the worst vandalism in years in PRASA happened during the lockdown. They stripped naked the lines and everything else because there was no security. That is why people could take rain, daylight, and people will send a message, Minister, people, we see them here, they are stealing. Not that our people did not come to the party, they did. But there was no reaction from PRASA, from a security point of view, to preempt that vandalism. Which did not happen at night, by the way, it happened during the day. And the worst hit is Gauteng. The trains are supposed now during level 3 to come back and operate. Even those that have got challenges, but the reason why they cannot come back, CEO, at least you are not acting. Confirmed. That service, the reason why it is now not coming back is because the lines have been stripped naked, stolen. We've got to restore them back to operation with security. We have employed 3,000, we're supposed to employ 3,100 people at PRASA, working with the police, revitalize security approach. I spoke to the NPA, I spoke to the police, I spoke to Minister of Constitutional Development, Lamula, Minister Pekikele. They all came to the party. We produced a security plan for PRASA. It's now supposed to be implemented. No English. Treasury has given us millions to implement that plan. We're supposed to implement it. We're supposed to recover the lines. The task of modernization of this place is going to continue under the new leadership, capable, and all of that. But the fact of the matter, we need to be reminded of where we basically come from. And even on these security issues, I see a whole movie being recorded on lies that the minister stopped security contracts. I didn't stop security contracts. Security contracts at PRASA were irregular by decision of the public protector and the AG. People were just coming here having fun, having some couple of millions and all of that. We have closed that tap. What we need to have addressed, which is the board decision, when this decision we are implementing it, what is the contingency measures we are taking to prevent vandalism in this particular area? That unfortunately was not done. That was not done. And it is supposed to be done to preempt. You remember here in Cape Town, 18 carriages were burned down. Now you forget quickly, I even had a press conference there. We arrested people there. Who did we arrest? Underage children. And then somebody came and the kids said, no, we're playing with fire. We're just playing. But we couldn't get to the big fish. And the reason why we brought the NPA to our strategy is because we don't want to charge people with theft. We want to charge them with serious economic sabotage. And security at PRASA, working with the police, must get deep to get to the syndicates that operate in this place in collaboration and in cahoots with some of the workers at PRASA. When I went to Heidelberg and found a laboratory that melt copper cables in Heidelberg, we arrested some of the employees who are working here. And just a week ago, the people were charged with economic sabotage and sentenced to more than 100 years in jail. That's what we want. We need to break down the syndicates. As we build this line and bring it back to life, we must ensure that it is guarded. And when it is guarded, those who are caught to be vandalizing public property in this space must face the consequences. The downward spiral continued in 2016-17, where PRASA had 2 ports. Irregular expenditure stood at 19.6 billion. In 2017-18, PRASA had 4 boards in single financial year. This perpetuated the instability. Irregular expenditure stood at 23.4 billion, an increase from 19.6 billion the previous year. Similarly, fruitless expenditure and wasteful expenditure escalated to 1 billion from 988 million the previous year. Once again, the Auditor General sharply raised the concern about instability at PRASA. During the latter part of 2019, we conducted a review on the performance of the board and of the entity as a whole. This assessment followed the Government Technical Advisory Center GTEC assessment report. Based on this report and other considerations, we arrived at the conclusion that PRASA had deep-rooted challenges that required decisive interventions at leadership and management levels. It became glaringly obvious that merely replacing an interim board with a permanent board will not address the deep-rooted fault lines at PRASA. It was on that basis that we dismissed the board and appointed Mr. Mpondo, who served as both the acting group CEO and accounting authority. He made significant strides in stabilizing what we characterized as a broken organization. Of course, not all in what he was doing was perfect in a very short space of time. With all the challenges, members of PRASA executive undermining and challenging his authority that is an illegal person installed here. So many things did not go the way they were supposed to go. From the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had a major disruptive effect to the intervention and slowed pace of implementing our programs. I must thank Mr. Mpondo for his commitment, sacrifice, and the diligent work he put into executing the mandate we had given him under trying circumstances. He made significant progress in addressing critical challenges. When the court set aside his appointment, we accepted the ruling and proceeded with the process of appointing a permanent board. Our determination to build a new PRASA out of the ashes of the old have never wavered. Like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, we have laid down firm foundations for a PRASA that is able to rise to the occasion and deliver a passenger rail service that is the backbone of our public transport system. When we appointed a permanent board, led by a veteran in the transport sector, in the person of Mr. Leonard Ramatlakane, we severed the umbilical cord with the old and have ushered a new era. An era that places ethics and corporate governance as its lodestar. The Kin 5 Code on Corporate Governance constitutes the guiding principles that inform the day-to-day functioning of the board. The shareholder compact we have concluded with the board place strong emphasis on corporate governance, ethics, and consequences management. And I'm happy I'm seeing the sparkles of this consequence management. Already people are crying. I mean, it's like I mean, we have not even begun. Hey, people are crying. Yeah. Nifuna kwenze ntoni? Nifuna kwenze ntoni? Nikhalela ntoni? Leave the board to do its job. Nikhalela ntoni xa kulungiswa? Nizawuva ngam xa kumoshwa. If people are messing up, litlawutlwa ka nna bana besu. Ningakhali. Yekelani board yenza umsebenzi wayo. Nama ndibatachi benje. Some of them are handsome, some of them don't look that much good, but they are good people. They are good people, they are good people, they are well educated and all of that. And I've given them the authority of Ramatlakane because we need authority. We need somebody with experience to marshal them to line. I don't want that Mickey Mouse show here where the board forever is fighting with the minister with the board. The board has got a mandate. And here is the mandate. I want to repeat again. We have raised the bar in this regard and will hold the board to extremely high standards in the execution of its mandate. It might happen that the board looks like it's interfering, whatever that it is not. This place is broken. But I don't want the board to overstep, and that is why we have now have the GCO with all the capabilities. Sivele umlando eHarvard lo muntu esikoleni esifunde kakhulu ukuthi azorun iPRASA. So that is what is important. The shareholder compact enjoins the board to deliver, among others, the following outcomes: improving operational performance, expedite implementation of the modernization program, with priority focus on fencing, signaling, pairway, and station upgrades. Ensuring, ayandibona ndiyabila undijongile nje. Akho angachief. Ziyabilisa kaloku into zasePRASA, zinjalo. Ubila qhopho. Yeah. Akukho lula apha chief. Enkosi ayana. Ensure security interventions across all corridors. Urgently develop capacity to manage PRASA's capital program, working with other state entities in the short term. In the short term. This is the mandate I'm giving the board. I've given the board. Building capacity to support interventions aimed at recovering the system by establishing requisite supplier panels through competitive bidding or other means permissible in law, ensure that effective consequence management is prioritized, and provide support to investigations currently underway by law enforcement authorities. I don't want anybody to stand on that path. I want the board, the new CEO, to understand that. Review PRASA's organizational design and business model, and upon consultation and approval by the minister, make the necessary and suitable changes to the structure and model of the group. This is urgent. I'm reminding them again about this compact. And I've seen the flashes in that compact being implemented already in the first 100 days. People are being held accountable, others have been let go. It's not my call. The board will sit, make its own mandate. Nansi ndefunwa a minister. When I go to parliament with them an account, we must give a proper account that all these things have been met. When we took the decision to shut down the rail services as a response to COVID pandemic, we were painfully aware that due to overcrowding in our trains, I've explained this point. In our trains, this would have served as a super spreaders. The challenges loom large, and our commuter rail infrastructure has been completely run down as a result of theft and vandalism. The most urgent task confronting us is to get trains back in service. We are under no illusion about the huge economic impact on the working class and low-income households affected by non-operation of our services. And for that, I wish to repeat my apology to everybody. It is difficult now, but good days are ahead of us. Everything will come back on track. You will be happy and you will be groovy. Your trains will be back and they will be operational. That is the most important task for us. Corridors such as Soweto, Ekurhuleni, Mabopane, Germiston, Tembisa, and the Central Line remain our priorities in restoring the service of trains in the Republic. Out of 44 corridors in the country, 16 of these corridors are back to life. And we must be systematic, corridor by corridor. Capture it back, install security, and then back to operation. That is how we must be systematic, and we must be methodological in what we do. We must not do hurry, make me nice programs. They don't add up. Let us have a killer punch. You see what we have done here in Tateramatlagani in Cape Town. Limited service that we have brought back in this line of Langa, Philippi, and all of that. Shouldn't be a half job. Like in December, I was called by PRASA to go and get the Shosholoza mail back on track. It didn't last for 5 days. I don't like make me nice PR projects. I want durable stuff. And that is what is important. The reimagined safety strategy is built on the foundation of a seamlessly integrated value chain that incorporates all the law enforcement and prosecution authorities and takes a holistic view of safety across modes. This includes SABC, Hawks, the National Prosecuting Authority, Metro Police, and the Railway Safety. PRASA security must be at the center to coordinate this plan and bring it to life. Police will not simply rock up here. They need strong coordination, daily deployment. We must treat places like this as a police station, in which it is under monitoring on a daily basis. The prevalence of crime in our rail environment has reached alarming levels. We inherited a broken organization from years of poor performance, rampant corruption, and poor culture of accountability. The interventions we put in place were decisive and provided a forward momentum towards rebuilding PRASA. Being an important part of our commitment to provide a public transport system that is safe, efficient, reliable, and most importantly, affordable. This may sound like the opposite of the attributes that currently characterize PRASA. safe for affordable. This is precisely the course we have set on and remain steadfast in our goals. In 2021-22 budget, PRASA has been allocated 4.7 billion subsidy for Metro Rail, a decrease from 6.6 billion. A further 1.2 billion has been allocated. PRASA's capital expenditure allocation includes 4.8 billion for the rolling stock fleet renewal program, 1.9 billion for signaling, 1.3 billion for refurbishment of Metro Rail coaches. All of these have to still be approved by Parliament after the budget speech by the Minister of Finance. I'm pleased to announce that following tireless efforts of the board this week, Cabinet approved the appointment of a permanent Group Chief Executive Officer of Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa. PRASA has not had a permanent Group CEO since 2015, before the appointment of last one in 2018, who unfortunately left within a year. Mr. Zolani Khosietsile Matthews has been appointed as the Group Chief Executive Officer of PRASA. He is a seasoned professional with a robust understanding of international and domestic business strategy, who has operated in dynamic, complex and agile organizations. His professional track record over 30 years bears witness to his focus on corporate governance, transparency and value-based organizations. He holds a master's degree in public administration from Harvard University. He is currently employed a full-time counselor of the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA. He also serves as the chairperson of the Ports Regulator of South Africa. His appointment means he will relinquish both these roles to assume his new position on a full-time basis with immediate effect. If you understand immediate effect. You understand immediate effect? Okay. We have no doubt that the appointment of Mr. Matthews heralds the beginning of a new era that will turn PRASA's fortunes and place it on a steady foot to delivery on its mandate. I wish to thank the following people at PRASA: Mr. Badisa, whom we take from AXA through the secondment by Treasury to act in a very short space of time after the departure of Mr. Mpondo. I've already thanked Mr. Mpondo. I wish to also thank Mrs. Thandeka Mapija, who was appointed acting GCEO up until now by the current board. I wish to thank her for her service to the organization, and we still look forward to your service as you are employed in this organization. But those decisions are not my decisions, are decisions of the board. So I wish to thank them all for their service to this organization. I also wish to thank the people of South Africa for bearing with us in managing this calamity, this disaster called PRASA. It is not going to be overnight, but we've got the responsibility to move with speed in terms of doing things differently. We've got a mandate, we've got a compact, and we know where we are going. Thank you very much.
Well, a big thanks to the Honourable Minister of Transport, Minister Fikile Mbalula. I think it's important that we get this short but informative trip down memory lane, just to remind ourselves of how we got to this point. We appreciate the fact that the Minister has never shied away from some of the troubles that have besieged this entity. He has never shied away from addressing some of the misconceptions as well that are prevalent in the public space. But in the same breath, he has remained resolute.
I wish to remind everybody, even those who think that they are my friends. I'm a Minister of Transport. I'm accountable to Ramaphosa and the executive. The decisions I take in this organization are my decisions and cabinet. I don't need fly-by-night advisors who want to question my decisions and give me advices. and I'm accountable to this government. The reason this country is where it is today, we have Ntate Zondo, is because of these fly-by-nights, who think that at any given point in time, they can give unsolicited advice to anyone in the state. If I want you to be my advisor, I will appoint you. Unfortunately, I can't have 40, I've got 2. So decisions that are taken here are decisions that not even the president has ever convened me to his residence, except in cabinet, and seek my accountability on issues and present how far are we with PRASA and all of that. But I wish to advise everybody, South Africa, please learn. Learn. Today we've got state capture investigation, because it was said ministers are appointed in a shibin. And abanye abantu bayakhanyela today ngulongingi kugqithana endleleni. But they know what they did to this country. And some of us, we want them. We did rise to the occasion, difficult as it was, that this thing will land this country in big trouble. Today we are spending billions investigating state capture because of our own incompetence and actions. I don't claim to be a knowledgeable guy in what I'm doing, but I draw counsel from the president, I draw counsel from the executive. I took an oath. If I don't know anything, ngifukuza nje, ngiyabuza. I've got great men and women in cabinet who get reports from us on everything. This country is not leaderless. There is a cabinet. That is why I'm a minister of cabinet. What I do here at PRASA, appointing people and all of that, is not a shibin talk. It's not something that I met with Ramatlakane and then we look at each other in the face and then we said, yay! Masi Mfondi. Even him, the GCO, he is appointed pending other things. We will check, we'll do everything. We're trying to do things right because we don't want to go back. We don't want another Perry White, we don't want another commission of inquiry by DCJ, Sionzimelisi Judge. We show me, we show me, hey. No, we don't want that. What kind of people are we who don't learn? We can't say during that time things were wrong and then we want to repeat now. We can't. I've got a board here, led by Ramatlakane. They come to me, they give reports. On Tuesday, I met Scopa. Scopa will be asking us questions, and they must account how far they've gone. 1, 2, 3. Checks and balances are clear. Yabule.
The scriptures say, he or she who has ears, let him hear. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to call upon the chairperson of the board at PRASA, Mr. Leonard Ramatlakane, who's also going to bring us up to speed with some of the work that they've been doing over the last couple of months, and of course officially welcome the incoming GCEO.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. Mphathisa Jola undivile. Yeah, it's really not sonke. But good morning, Mphathisa, and of course, the colleagues, the board members, other stakeholders, the Ndate Matthew, welcome to Langa. This is a place called Langa. and the Langa Station. It is an honor for me to be with you this morning on behalf of PRASA Board of Control, and I would like to welcome you all in this important occasion. Has been almost 100 days since we were appointed to serve in the PRASA board, and on behalf of the board, I would like to thank the Minister and government to entrusting this responsibility to this board to rebuild this most strategic and important state-owned entity in the rail industry. We are aware of the enormity of the task at hand. However, our vision is to work with stakeholders and, most importantly, the staff as well as executive management in the best interest of the rail community in public. The board is aware and acknowledges that PRASA situation is dire and requires our dedication and commitment as we embark on rebuilding this organization. And I want to borrow from the minister, PRASA is a broken organization. This is sad reality we are faced with, we cannot ignore. Our immediate objective is to make PRASA function optimally to deliver on its core mandate. Ladies and gentlemen, we are cognizant of the fact that we do not have the luxury of time to bring much needed stability within the organization. However, in our address to the employee earlier and late last year, I emphasized the fact that all the employees of PRASA, we must bring our best foot forward, that we must do something in order to reposition and turn this business around. The board will demand performance culture at all levels based on a balanced scorecard. There is not going to be a compromise on that. It's a delivery, horses for horses. On Saturday, the 21st of March 2020, board have signed the shareholder compact with the Minister of Transport, with the automobiles arguing that we prioritize the following. I want to quote a few of them. The implementation, he has already mentioned, as the first issue of security and asset protection plan, merger of CREST and Interside, divisionalization of autopacks, resolving the Locomotive with Statler issue, ensuring that the general overall and rolling stock, ensuring the implementation of the presidential priority directive on rolling out the rehabilitation of the central line in Mabopane in the Gauteng. In responding to the above priority area, the board has worked around the clock in implementing some of the initiatives. Let me cite. The board started by saying we need to understand this business. Let's go out of the the air conditioning offices. Let's go to the region, to the rail, to go and see what is happening. We visited Gauteng, KZN in the Western Cape region. The board we have visited, and we appreciated, as we visited and interacted, the gap and the support that we need to provide the management of PRASA going forward. As a result of the vandalism, damage, cable theft, estimation cost of this to rebuild runs into billions. The board has visited Gibela factory, where the state-of-art factory is building train in South Africa for South Africa. We are reassured that the board is going to support and in fact support and ask for ramping up of production of these blue trains. The board has visited, is in fact to visit Eastern Cape yet, to go and see the Eastern Cape, including the PE, and East London and Motherwell, in terms of what is happening in early March. Gibela is going to engagement with them. They have to ramp the 44 train in this year, 50, 62 as it goes, so that we want more of that production for these blue trains to come back. 2, the implementation of security and asset protection strategy. A concerted approach has been developed, which led to the development and creation of the integrated security plan as it was launched by the Minister of Transport. The plan is informed by intelligence-driven operation, regulatory framework of PRASA security response. PRASA has adopted strategy for a fully fledged in-house security within the 3 MTF period. This will be achieved through the phased-in approach. In the first instance, in the first phase, insourcing, the Minister has spoken about the 3,100 security on top of what we already have currently, and that process was complete, but because of the vetting is now 99% because other people falls off, we have 3,072 that has been confirmed. The corporate security implementation plan, which is now includes communities, we call it People Responsibility to Protect, or PR2P. Because unless we get community at the center of this, we're not going to be able to do an impact. A detailed security plan has been developed in February now, 2021. A key pillar on corporate security implementation plan include the insourcing of the 3,000 that we've already spoken about, including the issue of addressing the shortage of the arm response, and the 28 that is short, that we have a short in the Western Cape as a result of the vetting. The stakeholders in Cape Town have been engaged. We have been here from the January 5th, engaging the stakeholders around the corporate security, around what we need to do, including this central line, recovery and resumptions of work, including right up here to Khalecha, we have been engaging communities. Reclaim the security and infrastructure, or rail infrastructure, together with Public Works, Human Settlement, and the National Department of Transport, the Minister, and Cape Town. They're working hard to make sure that an alternative is found for people to make way on a rail service, on a rail reserve, so that we are able to start the rehabilitation of the central line so that it can come back into speed. The board has initiated national cleaning campaign with partnership with the Department of Transport, Department of Correctional Services. This collaborative efforts of the organs of states is geared towards reclaiming and protecting of asset of state. The board will soon be launching this integrated security plan, focusing primarily and centrally at the PR2P and the following regions, starting on the 8 in Cape Town, 15 in Gauteng, 22 in the Eastern Cape, 31 of March in KZN. The Western Cape need to conclude the employment of the armed response, the 28 that is still remaining. We need to finalize the issue of the camera, the cameras that we have particularly at the key special stations that are important. The merger with PRASA and of Crest and Intersite, the Board of Control has already approved the hybrid model that is integrating both organizations into one. Intersite and other property function of PRASA to be consolidated within the PRASA group. Management must finalize now the operating model of the consolidation, including the financial sensitivity thereof by March 2021. The visualization of autopacks, is well on track and will be effected by the end of March 2021. The report by independent transport expert with recommendation to the Department of Transport on a future mandate of bus division within PRASA was received and is being processed to be updated with the inputs of PRASA Exco. Transaction advisor was contracted to advise the management on the divisionalization process, and revise the Autopex operating model was approved by the board of Autopex board. Whilst the divisionalization is work in progress, management is confident that Autopex will commence operations as a division of PRASA with effect from 1st of April 2021. The Locomotive acquisition with Stadler, application for commercial settlement agreement for the 6 locomotives in the country to the High Court is in the progress, targeting is the end February 2021. The 6 locomotive and 17 locomotive in Spain, a target time frame for both acquisition for transactioning and commercial settlement agreement by High Court is at the end of March 2021. Concluding the investigation of Afro 4000 locomotive 3 kV rail network operation target, it is the end of March 2021. Concluding the working with taxation settler of Stettler Rail addressing the rail RSR technical concern, target time is April 2021. Ensuring the general overall contract of rolling stock, general overall for heavy maintenance is carried out periodically on an approach of 9 to 11 years cycle, as well as corrective maintenance on coaches that have been affected by vandalism and damage and theft. The process is current underway in the bid evaluation stage on this GO's contract. We are aiming to make an award before the end of the financial year, March 2021. Implementation of presidential directives. Minister, the rehabilitation of the Central Line and Mabopane corridor, including the infrastructure intervention, electrical, substation, payway, signaling, walling program. The plan is the restoration of electricity services before the end of the year, and in precise term, November 2021. However, in the light of the time frame and delayed experience last year, 2020, on the program, interim phased-in services have been rolled out on corridors. In the case of Mabopane, the minister referred to, there's a diesel services that is introduced in November 2020, running on a single lane because the other lane is being worked on. And that, we're hoping that line to get into full steam by the end of March. Additional training has begun, beginning of March 2021. On the Central Line, Cape Town, Langa service, shorter distance, Minister made a reference to it, has already been introduced, which is a phase 1 up to here from Cape Town. And the bigger work that we need to get into is the phase 2. And that phase 2 is what we have to work from here right up to Khayelitsha, Krisani, and Mitchell's Plain in terms of making sure that the people make a way for the rehabilitation. PRASA board has issued already notices of the people who are legally occupying the rails that we want them to make a way, and that the work is happening at the government level to make sure that it happens. Sourcing the critical skills, we must say on this point, in our assessment, there is a shortage of critical skills within PRASA. And it's, the board is at heart, and I'll talk to that in a moment. PRASA has recently appointed 10 graduates who were funded by the organization to pursue the engineering career. In fact, in total, there are 16. We're still looking for the 4 others. And they are skilled. We intend to build a fully fledged engineering department in-house within PRASA itself. There are skills that they have acquired: electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, as well as quantity surveyor, the skills that we need every day within the organization. These young men and women, engineering will be deployed as a start, both in Mabopane and the Central Line, to start cutting their teeth with those that are well-skilled, heavy, so that they are able to begin to work and know what must be done side by side with the skilled engineers and seasoned engineers to transfer skills to them. This is a true demonstration that PRASA is committed in building internal engineering capacity, and at the same time is making significant contribution in the fight against unemployment. PRASA will continue to roll out the initiative on this in the nature of part of the long-term strategy to build a well-oiled team of engineers. Soon these engineers will be well-equipped, acute on a MECA project internally, which currently is being outsourced. The problem that we have that we also, in the process, begin to understand is that most of the work that PRASA does outsource it out to consultancy. So we wait for consultant to help us. We want to turn that around to be able to build that internally, to be able to do that ourselves. The current structure, we are dealing with a review of the structure, of the current structure of the PRASA in terms of staff establishment, and that we want to finalize as soon as possible in the first quarter of this year. The board has also taken a resolution that we need to deal with a top-heavy management structure, including matching and placing to support the implementation, to have a mean and lean, effective operating structure. As part of stability and cost containment, the board has also been able to drastically reduce the cost of the suspended employee by 50%. This is an indication that the board is serious about implementing a solid policy which will bring stability to the organization. In this context, PRASA is following its policies, including subjecting all the newly appointed staff to a rigorous objective performance evaluation when the personnel comes short of meeting all these key performance indicators. When they miss that test, they can't make the test within the probation period. Employment is simply not confirmed. That's what we're following. We have a policy. That policy has to be implemented with fear and favor. If you don't meet it, you don't cut it. So the board will be ensuring that all the executive sign the employment contract and implement Project Siveze, show yourself, to root out the ghost workers simultaneously. We know that some people don't exist, but they exist. So we will ask people to come with their ID number and the passport and to show themselves and clean out step by step those that are there and those who don't exist. If you can't prove that you're here and your boss is here and your supervisor is that and this, sorry, we can't keep you. In this context, I must say, there's been a project with the Home Affairs to try and find out Home Affairs where people that work for PRASA, whether they either have permanent residents or they are South Africans, because we have the law to follow. That the RP names that are coming back, not with the citizenship, not permanent, not this. Sorry, even that will be an unlawful thing for PRASA to continue with it. So there has to be consequence for that, and the consequences will follow. Corridor resumptions and rehabilitation, Minister, we've already spoken about the 16 corridors that are open functioning. We are prioritizing 10 key priorities in the new financial year that we're going to be able to show that we rehabilitate, and that work started April 1, 2021. This includes deployment of the new blue trains, which are known by the name of the People's Trains, Ololue Wabahlali. The current 10 blue trains are currently in Cape Town, awaiting deployment once the rehabilitation is complete. Furthermore, 12 blue trains will be delivered in the Western Cape in this new financial year. Parallel to that, we will be accelerated building of depot modernization program to achieve the rehabilitation to line up in line with the established fully fledged project management office. That's key, and that management, that PMO need to be established by April 2021. Minister, addressing the IG Auditor General finding 2 years in a row, has not 2018-19, 2019-20. This is indicative that, of course, we have a weak control environment within an organization, and this is a major concern for the board. However, we dare not fail in reversing this trend during the coming 2021 audit cycle. We have established an appropriate governance structure at the board and management level to address the Auditor General's finding. A significant amount of work is taking place to address the finding by the Auditor General of South Africa. For example, PRASA has concluded a secondment agreement with a special SIU to investigate all the material findings highlighted by the AG in 2018-19 financial year audit outcome. The Special Investigating Unit has committed to finalize these by the February 2021. Management has adopted audit action plan to implement and monitor to be implemented and monitored bi-weekly by the Audit and Risk Committee, MEMCHES committee, in terms of the audit plan action that we have, because we want to clean all the problems that the Auditor General has in fact identified in 2018 and 2019-20. Addressing all this qualification matter, well, of course, will result in the positive audit outcome. Our management team has met with the Auditor General already and continue to do so to addressing the principal issues around the findings, because we also find that Auditor General, in terms of their auditing, sometimes just overstep without understanding clearly what PRASA is about. There is a long list of what we are doing with the Auditor General, but I can safely say, to summarize this, that 73% of what the Auditor General has found in the year one has been cleaned up, has been completed. And now we're moving in the year two of the 2019-20 in clearing all of that, in preparing to clear the slate before the new audit cycle start. We are dealing with the condonation, Minister, the condonation of the illegal or irregular expenditure. So far, we're hoping to clear up out of the 28 billion irregular expenditure, we're hoping to finalize the 14 billion in this year in terms of condonation. The team is working at that. The investigation by the Hawks is ongoing, but we want them to finalize it. We want to deal with the corruption outcome. We want to deal with the people that are fingered, that they can see that we do not tolerate the corruption in this organization. So they will be dealt with harshly in terms of because the police are going to be involved and the consequence management will take place. Ladies and gentlemen, all over about this intervention, the Minister of Transport has facilitated the appointment. We said in the compact, we will work hard to make sure that we source, we facilitate, we do all what we have to do within the 90 days, and we did do the work. And today we are welcoming here with the Minister, the Group CEO, Ndate Hosi, KZ Matthew. Welcome that here. We have been able to execute the task within 100 days as the board. On behalf of the board, I want to express our deepest appreciation to outgoing Mayor Thandeka Mabija for everything she has achieved over the past few months. She has made immense contribution to the organization. In closing, I wish to thank the Minister of Transport, Ujor, my colleague, who are members of the board and an employee of PRASA, for the support, immense support that we are getting as the board. To our commuters, passengers, and customers, I would like to convey a sincere apology for inconvenience that the PRASA has in fact caused on your normal daily commuting pattern. This board is committed in reorganizing, remodeling the most strategic important asset, which is the rail of South Africa, for the purpose of transporting of South African public. We're not going to be sleeping on duty. We're going to make sure that we hit the road running. To the incoming Group CEO, we can assure you that this board is here to provide you all the needed support. We would like to officially welcome you onto the board and to PRASA, and we wish you all the best when you begin to steer this train to its rightful glory and the best interest. All what we're doing in the best interest of our commuters, our people, and the passenger and the traveling passengers and the country as a whole. So we want to thank you that the future is here, is starting today in terms of changing the narratives of what the passenger rail has been yesterday. Thank you very much, dear Bulela, dear Leboa, Siabonga, Baya Danki. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. I think your statement has captured so eloquently the Minister's sentiments that now is the time for us to work, to hit the ground running, and to make sure that we deliver quality services to the South Africans who deserve it the most, and that is, of course, those commuters who rely on the rail transportation sector. It is so good to see that you're not alone as a representative of the board today. We are enjoying the support of your fellow board members. We're seeing Mrs. Mpia, who's also right there next to you, making sure that the incoming group CEO feels the support. He no doubt has his work cut out for him, but I believe that as we've heard from the Minister, he is not only equal to the task, but he's definitely fit for purpose, and we have no doubt that he will do a job that is remarkable and something that we can be proud of as a country. Let us now hear some few remarks from the man of the moment himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the Group CEO of PRASA, Mr. Zolani Khositsile Matthews.
Thank you, Amanda, for those very kind words. Minister, you're banned from now calling my organization calamitous disaster. No more, please. Honorable Minister Mbalula, Chairperson of the Board of Control, and members of the Board of Control, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me, if I may, to begin by thanking the Honorable Minister and the Board of Control for the opportunity to serve in one of our most important national strategic entities. I am deeply honored and humbled by your decision to vest this responsibility in me. We know that delivering reliable and affordable rail and other forms of public transport is central to our economic performance and our project of transformation. There are millions of stakeholders that our performance and operations affect on a daily basis, and our overarching priority is to put passengers at the heart of all we do. All our strategic aims, modernizing, building a service for the future, improving the rail network and organizational capacity, enhancing our reputation for service, and commitment to good governance. These aims are our pledge card, the yardsticks by which we will measure our capabilities in meeting the challenges to come. I am determined, together with our team and the Board of Control, to work ceaselessly to deliver a high-quality service and build a stable, fiscally prudent, modern company that fulfills its mandate and is at the center of our future transportation objectives. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Group CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, now is an opportunity for you to pose the questions that you so desire. Let us try and be succinct as possible. Remember, we do have the second leg of today's proceedings, which involve the walkabout. So we're going to take one, at most 2 rounds of questions. I'm going to ask that my colleague Andisa just wave If you have a question, walk towards her. She'll then be able to give you the microphone and sanitize. We're trying to control passing on of mic and spreading of unwanted germs. As you know, we are living in very precarious times, so it's important for us that we observe the regulations. So I'm going to ask that if you do have a question, just walk towards her. You'll introduce yourself in the media house from where you come, and then you can fire away. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask that we limit the questions to the media as much as possible. There will be stakeholder engagements in no time once the management has settled in nicely and is able to respond to your queries. So I'm going to ask the journalists with the questions to make their way to Andiswa, and then she'll be able to assist.
Can I go ahead? Ayanda? Can I go ahead?
Please do go ahead.
Cool. Hi, good morning. I'm Yazid Kamaldin. I'm a journalist representing YouTube Africa today. I have a question for the Minister. We've taken a walk to the shack from the railway line earlier today, and we've of course heard from Mr. Ramatikane as well that plans are underway, on that. But a lot of people still feel concerned that they can't use the trains, and we'd like to hear from the Minister as well what the action plan would be around that. And then I also have a question for Mr. Matthews. The Minister has said that PRASA has been an institution where people have felt they could hand out tenders to girlfriends, etc. How do you intend to turn around this organization and to make sure that people feel more accountable, especially for the public funds that are being wasted? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions, colleagues?
From the 8th August. My question is in line with Yazid's question, but I want to ask, we heard that the people or the squatters down there were issued warnings for 10 days, and if not so, they were told that the PRASA will approach the court. So how far is the PRASA from approaching court, and what's going to happen now since the 10 days is heavy?
Thanks, Isonke. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions? I think we'll take the next two questions and we'll close for this round. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mariska Blota from SABC. Even before lockdown, the communities in Cape Town, particularly, has all but given up on the railway system. People just simply have no faith that it is a safe and secure system to use. I hear what you're saying about turnaround strategy and getting things online again. How soon will people be able to make use of a fully functioning rail system again? And what do you do to bring that confidence in the rail system back? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleague from ENCA, I believe it is, if my eyes are not deceiving me. Please go ahead.
My name is from ENCA in Cape Town. So the first question is for the new group CEO. So you come into the job where there is huge to-do infrastructure, train lines not running for months. So what is your first order of business? And number two, what do you think PRASA is in this predicament? Why do you think PRASA is in this predicament that is in now, and what are the factors that contributed to it?
Thank you so much. I see you, Pilani Esondela. Good Mike, do you have a question? No. Okay, no problem. I think that's all for this round, Minister. If there are any other questions in the second round, we will take them. Is it okay if I take the liberty to ask the chair and then the CEO to answer, and then you'll take the last round for this time being? If we can stand in front of the podium with the evictions. All right, let's take your answer first. I'm going to ask you just to introduce yourself as well so that they know. Thank you.
Molweni Ikamalam Dingusmanga Sitini, one of the board members. Perhaps one thing before I answer the question that relates to the squatters. Minister, the reason why we delayed in the process of appointment of the group chief executive is that we had to follow a thorough process, including vetting and contacting institutions of higher learning to confirm whether indeed Mr. Matthew is a graduate of Harvard and is it Warwick? And Warwick University. His criminal history and any other issues, credit history. Harvard University came back to us to say they confirmed that indeed he came and he studied, he graduated. Warwick University did confirm same. His police clearance came negative. He's got no criminal record to his name. His credit ratings is also clean. So, Minister, we assure you that we tried our level best to ensure that the process is not tainted at all. Back to the squatters. Yes, indeed, we gave them 10 days to vacate. That is in compliance with the law. Next week, before the end of next week, PRASA will be approaching the Western Cape High Court to obtain a court order for their removal. But I must state that the minister will announce that before we did that, we had to interact with other state-owned organizations, City of Cape Town, and Human Settlement, so that land could be identified. So the minister will share those details because I'm clothed with no authority to share such details. Our political principals will do the same. Corruption. We want to make it clear to all citizens of South Africa, to all PRASA employees, that we are going to be extremely impatient with anyone who is involved in alleged corrupt activities. Lifestyle audit of employees of PRASA will be announced soon. There are people with inexplicable wealth. You've got people who can buy a farm worth 11 million and pay it in 2 months. We've got people with 10 properties, all of them are not bonded. I'm giving you the snippets of some of the things that will be highlighted in that lifestyle audit. And everybody who's found to have been on the wrong side of the law, he or she will definitely have to dance to the music. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. GCEO, would you like a bite at the cherry?
Thank you, Amanda.
Could be at the podium just so they can get the sound. Thank you.
Ayanda, not Amanda.
Ayanda. You asked the question in respect of handing out of tenders, and well, I think that one of the things that obviously the board have indicated and stress is that we're going to hold people accountable for any actions they take with respect to the misuse or the attempt of trying to corrupt the institution. The age of PRASA as an ATM for individuals in the organization is over, and it's not going to be accepted, and the board will seek the most harshest penalties for anybody who's found to be guilty of any actions of that kind. We're going to impose stricter controls on our tendering and SEM processes, make them more transparent, but just increase our accountability and hopefully change the culture over time of how we do business. Also the suppliers. We're going to make sure that there are punitive measures taken against suppliers who try to corrupt our employees. So this is a process that we hope to start, and the board have already started it, and it will continue. And we hope to change the culture throughout the organization, from the bottom all the way up to the executive management. Everybody will be audited, including myself. So I think that is how we're going to try to address those problems. The lady asked the question about what is my first order of business. Obviously, I start on Monday. I'll be getting briefed by the executive management team as well as the board to try to get a clear understanding of ongoing issues and the issues, and putting forward a program going forward that I think the chair has highlighted quite clearly, and to try to move to implement the measures that have already been taken by the board in addressing some of these issues of serious concern for the organization. So it's going to be a process, but we know that our shareholder minister doesn't want us to waste any time further in fixing what he has, described as a broken organization. So we're going to put as much effort as possible to changing the culture throughout the organization on a systemic basis, and not in a haphazard and rushed way, but to try to actually broadly make sure that the organization is really fit for purpose and it fulfills its mandate, because the expectations are very, very high from the public, and we have an obligation to ensure that we do that.
Thank you so much, Minister. It's over to you.
Thank you very much, Kamaldeen. People must not be confused. We came here, we formally closed the central line. You remember trains were operating, but there was expectation that something is going to happen in terms of the central line and raising hopes of people. So we shut it down. So the limited service that is operational that the chair was talking about is from here to town and back. It ends here. That's the limited service. When you go backwards, which will take you there, is the shacks up until Philippi and all of that have been built on the railway. But you know why people do that? They want shelter. They know once they do that, government, once they are 100, it has got the responsibility to take them. Given the laws of this country, what is that law? What is that law? Huh? The law that is used by people for informal settlement, and they are guaranteed that they will be moved to a shelter. Okay. PI Act. Okay. Now abantu bethethe. Cacile bakhona noko abaphendlileyo. PI Act. So people know they use that act that once they gather like this, you've got to move them. You can see even the shanties there, they are new. These people, you ask them where they come from, they are from Mkanduli, deep in the Eastern Cape. Others are from where. So they are coming here because they know that we have a responsibility to move them. But it's not our problem as PRASA, as railway. They are occupying a space they are not supposed to occupy. At least the law must protect us in relation to that. They are prohibiting movement of trains. And as a result, an essential service to the people is actually stopped. So we stopped the service. We said that we are going to build, which is what the chair is saying. That program is not stopped. Now it is a presidential directive that this line that carries almost 20,000 people daily commuting between Cape Town or weekly or whatever that it is, it must be opened up. Because the majority of those people now are dependent on buses and taxis. So we've got to open this. And then we've got to build corridors as promised. So those are the things that must happen. When we were in the process of implementing that, construction could not begin because there was a total shutdown because of the pandemic. Could not begin at all because contractors and everybody else were not allowed to be on site because of the regulations of COVID-19. Unfortunately, we hope to recover with the necessary speed that work that has been delayed to get back on track. So the GCO and his team have got their job cut out. I want delivery. The people want delivery. That work must continue. People have taken sacrifice. I came here, I spoke to people, I asked them to accept that we are going to stop trains. So that is what, that there should be no confusion. The service of trains is going to come back. Remember, at the level of lockdown, I repeat again, we stopped the trains because of the risk. Our challenge now is to get the trains in Soweto, in Germiston, back. Once the trains have stopped, because these trains never stopped, despite the challenges we've got operationally, they never stopped. The first time trains came to a halt for a longer period like now, it is during the lockdown level pandemic. And in that process, yes, there was vandalism, but not at a large scale, like it has happened. In that process, there was no guarding, nothing. Stations were vandalized. The electric cables and the copper cables were cut down. So that is why the trains are unable to move out and back to operation. We must get those trains back to operation with the necessary speed as we continue to modernize. The modernization program continues. It has stopped. We are 4 years behind. 4 years behind. I've told you that this organization have not had a GCO for more than past 10 years. It has had more than 10 acting people. So Matthews is the 11th and is permanent. I hope he stays forever and ever and change this place for the better. And he's got my support as the minister. He's got the support of the board. And as a minister, I know my role. I deal with the board, and the board deals with the executive. And the board sets timeframes and standards for the executive. But remember, Matthews is coming to PRASA where there is nobody who knows what position does he occupy. People have been working here. We are up in the M17. People have been working here at PRASA. You ask them, where is your contract? Abanayo. But we are pangel, they don't. So this is what the chair is saying. They are going to implement a program. Of course, they'll talk to the unions and all of that about it. There has to be agreement. The bigger problem with PRASA is that you are employing people who've got no heart to this place, but at the same time, they know they are simply fly by night. They know. But he's got no application. There is no supervisor. How do you run a place like this when there is no accountability? Now, that job is cut out. It's going to be done. There is nobody acting now. There is a group CEO. He must put his place. There's got to be a new structure. That is the mandate I've basically given to them. Cape Agas, your question has been answered. SABC. Commuters must not give up on this service. The mandate of government and my mandate as the minister is not to kill PRASA. I've got no such mandate. I've heard people say that Mbalula government want to privatize. We want privatization in as far as revitalizing the dead branch lines that are not operational. If you go where I come from in Botshabelo, in the Free State, there is a stretch between Bloemfontein and Tabanchu is a railway line. It is also a commuter line, but it is useless. Now, we're talking about those branch lines that we need to revitalize them. and all of that, and to ensure that where possible we can have concessions with the private sector to come to the party, to revitalize those and to be operational. My core mandate is to get the passenger rail commuter in the big city.
All right, it's unfortunate that we lost that link. He was answering a question posed by the SABC, but we did hear from the new Group CEO of PRASA, Mr. Zolani Matthews there, saying that he is committed to putting passengers at the heart of everything that they do. Also, strong talk with regards to alleged corruption, going to hold people accountable if they try to corrupt the system. And this also relates to supplies as well. And he says that they want to make sure that the organization is fit for purpose. We will see if we can re-establish connection with regards to that and bring you the very latest about the unveiling of the new Group CEO of PRASA, Zolani Matthews. Let's take a quick break. Get you more news next. Stay with us.
On Stories Untold, we travel far and wide to bring you stories packed with hope and inspiration.
I don't need to rely on government, I don't need to rely on anything, but if I can speak life into my situation,